So the committee treats this matter with great seriousness, and we are going to proceed in terms of the questioning of the former president under oath. It may take multiple days. And it will be done with a level of rigor and discipline and seriousness that it deserves. We are not going to allow the former president. He's not going to turn this into a circus. This isn't going to be, his first debate against Joe Biden and the circus and the food fight that became. This is far too serious set of issues.
Well, I mean, it's not going to be the first debate with Joe Biden, Jonathan Lemire, unless he's really roided out. I mean,
my God.
Trump was like a professional wrestler. He was sweating.
Didn't he have COVID or something?
He was roided out. At one point, he started yelling at the podium, said, "Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me?" He was out of his mind.
Yeah.
That was one of the craziest performances in debate history.
Yeah, he jumped and I'm walking here. He did one of those. It was it was a lot. Trump, of course, it later came out. We've heard from Chief of Staff Mark Meadows that he had COVID at the time of that first debate, and certainly he was sweaty and loud. At one point, Joe Biden literally said, "Shut up, man." Hopefully we won't get a repeat of that for his hearing. And certainly, right now, people around the president, they don't think he'll actually show up for this.
American democracy is strong.
Okay, let's. That was Vice Chair, by the way, the January 6th committee, Liz Cheney, on whether the panel is open to live testimony from the former president.
And you'll notice she did not say what Nancy Pelosi said.
No, that he wasn't man enough to show up?
Well, yeah, she said that kind of twice. I don't think he's man enough to show up.
Yeah, we saw it twice.
Yeah, we saw it twice.
Well, I mean, it's just she was emphasizing the point.
Well, exactly.
On Friday, the January 6th committee officially issued a subpoena to former President Donald Trump demanding he turn over a number of documents related to his efforts to overturn the 2020 election by November 4th. The committee also wants any communications he had with extremist groups who were involved in the Capitol attack. Lawmakers ordered Trump to testify under oath on November 14th, either in person at the Capitol or by video conference.
Let's bring in right now NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney. And Ken, there's not much of a chance that if this goes up to the Supreme Court, they're going to make him go testify, is there?
Good morning, Joe. It's a real interesting question. Obviously, this Congress doesn't have very much longer to run, and this committee is wrapping up. So I'm trying to understand what the play is here. They set a very tight deadline of early November for Trump to come over. Do they then try to hold him in contempt of Congress and refer that over to the Justice Department and see whether the Justice Department will act quickly? Because as we've seen with Steve Bannon, you can't just refuse to show up necessarily. Now, a former president has perhaps his own special claims, but former presidents have testified before Congress. It's never been decided, though, what happens when a former president resists a congressional subpoena. So we'll have to see. But one thing that's clear is that this subpoena was written almost like an indictment. I mean, it summed up the case that the January 6th committee has made, arguing that Donald Trump orchestrated a corrupt scheme to try to overturn the election that broke the law in many respects. And the subpoena also suggested that they have information that Trump is communicating with encrypted apps, which I found interesting because, this is a man that we all know never uses email, doesn't write anything down. If they have reason to believe he's texting with people on Signal, if they have one end of those conversations, that would be really, really interesting.
Yeah, Ken, Mara Gay here. This is fascinating reporting. Just wondering, can you explain to just laymen who really don't understand what a subpoena is, kind of what power the committee has to, if any, to compel the president to testify, and what this really actually means in just layman speak?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Maura. This is not like a subpoena from a federal grand jury. It's a congressional subpoena, and so they have very limited power. They don't have their own police force to go arrest Donald Trump and bring him to Congress. I think that used to exist back in the day, but that doesn't happen anymore. So their only real option here is they could go to court civilly to try to get the courts to order Donald Trump to appear, or they could, as they did with Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro and Mark Meadows, send over, Congress would have to hold him in contempt, and then they send a contempt citation over to the Justice Department and ask the U.S. Attorney in Washington to then enforce the subpoena. And if he refuses, as Steve Bannon did, then there's a criminal trial. So you can see how long that would take. And so it's pretty clear the clock is running out on this Congress, and it seems probably that this subpoena is unenforceable.
And of course, on Friday, Steve Bannon was sentenced to 4 months in prison. That's a little less than the DOJ had advised. They were looking for 6 months, but he's behind bars for 4 long months right now. Also,